first giving all honor and praise to the Holy One of Israel, his anointed son and servant Ben-Ami, the many great elders and pioneers who sacrificed so much to bring us to this day, this time, this place. I greet you in everlasting peace and love. Shana Tova, Shana Mivarechet. Happy New Year. Beloved brothers and sisters, and all those who are seeking truth in this day and time, it is my divine pleasure to greet you on behalf of the Holy Council of the Hebrew Israelite community in the Holy Land, Israel. We're so grateful at this day and time, this very special year, the new year, in the year of the Jubilee, that we have those who are purposed, or whose purpose it is, to keep us mindful of the righteous cycles and seasons of the Creator. These cycles and seasons are predicated upon sharing with us and keeping us aligned with the life-giving instructions, the life-giving guidelines, which are the laws of Yah Yisrael, the Creator, for our protection and our benefit. And while the circumstances of the season, the beginning of the year is specifically significant because it's a cause, or it's a time of celebration and gratitude. We're celebrating the rebirth of the consciousness of the laws of life and living in our lives. Very practical, very purposeful laws, which are real to us in our day-to-day lives. While the circumstances of this season, with the coronavirus and self-distancing and home quarantine, might alter the way that we are marking this holy day without us gathering together in congregational gatherings, it does not dampen our enthusiasm with which we are meeting this season. We're marking this new year in a Jubilee year, in accordance with biblical righteous cycles and seasons. And we understand always that every living organism created by the Creator has a particular life cycle which enhances its ability to live, or the violation thereof leads to its demise. I want to read first, a quote first from page 165 of God, the Black Man and Truth by the anointed Ben-Ami. Yah has pre-established righteous cycles which control the elements, fire, air, water, and earth. These cycles also control the seasons of the cycle of birth and growth, joy and happiness, the renewing of the spirit and spiritual elevation. An in-depth study of the cycles of life will render a deeper knowledge and understanding of the basic principles of life and the Creator, and how to use them to keep the world in a spirit of holiness. The Spirit produces more holy thought, which form the ideas that produce actions which are never contrary to the will and intention of the Creator. These actions cannot be misinterpreted in any way to influence man to think wrong or do wrong against himself, his fellow man, or God, Yah, the Creator. Again, recognizing the fact that every living organism has a cycle of existence, a cycle of living, that when adhered to, it protects and preserves its life. It is important for us to acknowledge in this day and time, in this season of gratitude, thanksgiving, and rebirth. We also know at this particular time, it is a very challenging season globally. As referred to earlier, the global, with the coronavirus and its spread, there's a great deal of discussion, interest, and talk about biblical judgments, because we're reading in the newspaper regularly about something being of biblical proportions. The challenges of the locusts in Africa and India, or the floods, or the volcanic eruptions going on around the world, and of course the global expansion of the coronavirus. We also want to draw our attention to, again, that while the word judgment is often used, we want to also maybe use the word consequences, because what we see is an outgrowth of some particular behaviors which have brought about the desired, the results that we see at this particular time. And likewise, there are consequences, judgments, which are brought about by adherence to the laws and instructions which the Creator has given us. And we want to turn our attention to that, because as it's written in the 15th chapter of Exodus, the 26th chapter, and it said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of Yah Yahweh, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments and all of his statutes, instructions, I will put none of the diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am Yah, that healeth thee. If I might take a moment to go back, those words that healeth thee are a mistranslation. The actual terminology is more accurately translated because I am your doctor. I, Yahweh, am your doctor, which means, again, I, in the form of my life-giving instructions and guidelines, that there's a science to it that will protect you against potential plagues or challenges that might come in our lives. Now, we understand that, again, we're speaking of consequences in terms of judgments, that there are dietary laws, that if we maintain these dietary laws, that there are benefits to maintaining these laws. And likewise, there are consequences for consuming something or becoming in the proximity of something for consumption that you should not consume. Likewise, there are laws regarding the Sabbath day, which with its maintenance will protect and cause the reboot and rejuvenation of every cell, every organism, every sense within the body. There are laws of motion and fitness that when adhered to, the body will continue to maintain and be able to perform as demanded. But of course, again, if we do not do those things, the body likewise will atrophy and cease to be able to perform as desired. The laws of mental development, we're called to always be studious and study the right things in order that we can then produce the kind of righteous thoughts, thinking, and the ability to think and calculate as desired. Laws of association, that your associations will influence your mental and physical development now and eternally. So it's important for us to pay close attention to the laws of association. Laws of parenting. There are certain things that we must instill in our children if they are to grow up and be living, functioning, contributing members of a righteous society. And likewise, there are laws governing children, such that they first of all should honor the instructions given to them by their parents, that their days might be prolonged on this planet. The laws of respecting the elders in terms of the laws of respecting the hoary head for those who are younger, which again keep us in a particular social structure that allows for everyone to be respected accordingly. Again, we have a saying that the violation of these instructions and the keeping thereof are written in the earth. What does that mean? It means purely and simply that there are expected consequences that will come forth, both from the violation thereof, which we most often speak of in terms of judgments, but then there are also blessings that will come from the keeping of these laws and instructions. I want to refer also, again, being mindful of this season of celebration, because we're here to celebrate keeping these laws and the benefits and the protections thereof. We were reading from a writing of the anointed Ben Ami from Physical Immortality, where he spoke of the significance of our accountability to one another. And that reads from page 74. In pursuit of physical immortality, I am faced with an unavoidable reality. I live also by what you say, what you do, and what you feed me physically and spiritually. With that understanding, I must be part of a social construct, a society, that is favorable to harmonious giving and receiving. Within that construct is also found a key to strengthening our body's natural protective mechanism, the immune system. So much attention is being paid today to the viability of our immune systems in light of the current challenges globally, that we realize that it is tied to a network of our social being, not just our diet, but also our social network. What we think, say to ourselves, and cause others to think, convey to them, are also important aspects of building strong immunity. Every word you speak and hear participates in the strengthening or weakening of the immune system. The immune system is a network which resonates with the vibrations that surround it. It is as surely adversely affected by negative emotions and lies as it is by bacteria, as deeply impacted by negative thoughts as it is by drugs. If the immune system is starved of truth, the life-giving instructions of the Creator, it will falter, leaving you most susceptible to infection and life-threatening ailments. Brothers and sisters, we're accountable to one another. We're accountable to these laws and encouraging the favorable consequences of keeping these laws, while discouraging the unfavorable consequences by their violation. We see many things taking place on the planet today. I was reading in an article in Forbes magazine just this morning that in the few weeks that the society has been in lockdown, that limiting the performance of the day-to-day activities, many of which were contrary to the well-being of the planet which we depend upon to live, has witnessed a rebirth of many of the life support systems or living organisms that were in the area. What am I saying? You know, they say, it's interesting, this year is 2020, and often when you're talking about eyesight and perception, you say it's 2020. Or hindsight, they always say that hindsight is 2020. And we realize that a dear price has been paid when we look at what has taken place across this planet. Because in Italy alone, where we have ceased to perform much of the manufacturing which is polluting the air, the dumping of waste which was destroying the water, they have watched in just a few weeks of this implementation of this lockdown that fish that had been absent from the waterways for decades have returned. Plants and flowers which had been not witnessed for years have returned. That then the earth is fighting back, is fighting to live, fighting to serve the life and living. And it's important for us to note that and take this great lesson that while we are at home in our environment with our families, that we're a consciousness that we have the opportunity for this great rebirth which the new year symbolizes. We can be part of it. When we come out of this lockdown, we can be much more purposeful and conscious of living our lives in such a way that the society, the lives of humanity, the lives of the fauna and the flora, the water, the air, all these elements will be benefited by our new consciousness, the rebirth of this consciousness that we said in the beginning, which is the great purpose of the new year, to revive this consciousness. And then we will also therefore be even greater conscious of keeping the other life-giving laws of Yah Yisrael as we go forward and seek forward to bring forth the blessings which are in store for people who diligently keep them. Again, I pray these words have been received in the spirit intended to be the fuel of celebration in the course of this New Year's celebration and catapult us into the remainder of this, the Jubilee year, in the spirit of strength and confidence, even in the face of much challenge, knowing that there's a promise that has been made, that those who keep the laws of Yah Yisrael, our Creator, Yah Yahuwah, will be blessed. Do not fear that, yea, as you walk through the valley of the shadow of whatever the challenge may be it disease, be it crime, be it violence, be whatever it may be, that the keeping of these laws will be our safety and comfort and peace. Shalom, shalom, Shana Tova, shalom.